So I'm Kathleen Smith. Yes, it's Kathleen on Twitter, and welcome back to the DEF CON Career Hacking Village. We're so excited that we have DEF CON going on again. It's in hybrid, but the Career Hacking Village is virtual this year. Not only do we have great content sessions, but we have career coaches and resume reviewers who will be available. But check out the Discord channel to find out more information about that. So today we have my really great friend, Kirsten Renner, who just is a phenomenal person, so involved in DEF CON, so involved in the community. I am so glad that she had a new presentation to share with the community. So Kirsten, let's just take it away. Tell everyone a little bit why you're so wonderful and share us about your topic today.
Okay, I would rather take a moment to thank you in particular for paving the path for this to be a thing, and for everything you've done for me and for the community. This talk is going to be about, with all of the challenges that we are all facing as candidates, particularly groups of less represented factors. I hate to see so many people challenged by job descriptions that are horrible or confusing. So this is me saying we can turn that into a great opportunity, actually, every single one of them.
Wonderful. Great to hear about that. So enlighten us as to why job ads suck.
So when I go through the slides, I'm going to give some really cool examples, some that are absolutely horrible, some that have just been highlighted by all of you. They're either confusing, or the job title doesn't go with the requirements, or there's way too many requirements, or they're totally unreasonable. So I think and I've definitely had this conversation before, and I think that you agree. There are people that try to look at this as, hey, how can we make the employers do better, right? This is an employer problem. How can we solve this and make it? I think that is the loftiest thing in the world. I don't think we can fix all of the employers. I also don't think that their intentions are bad, and I'll go through that as well, like how some of these things happen and why they happen. And I think it would be better if, from our perspective, as candidates, speaking as candidates, if we look at this as just another challenge that we have to get through and how we can get through it.
Well, I think it's also good that we all have new information, because I think new information, passing it throughout the community, enlightens and raises everyone up. And I'm so excited that there are so many people in the community that are putting together books and who are doing podcasts on this. And thank you for the recognition that, yes, this has been, 7 years of me pounding the community and saying, look, we have to improve our communication. So I'm really excited to watch your presentation.
Your labor of love, no doubt. Right?
Yeah. So let's kick it off.
Okay, sounds good. Without further ado, DEF CON 29, yay, hybrid version, and pre-recorded for you here, part of the car hacking village. Sucky job ads, and how we can make them into opportunities. No, really, hear me out. So who am I real quick? As mentioned already, I am Kirsten Renner. I'm Renner on Twitter. I'm the Senior Director of Recruiting at Novetta, soon to be AFS. I am a college dropout, and I put that in here not just because it's who I am and I'm fine with it. That's going to be part of the story here as we move along. I'm going to talk about why that is relevant to this conversation as well. I've been in the business for over 20 years. And I've spoken at a number of conferences before. ShmooCon was my first one, and I've done quite a few B-sides. So now what? What the heck? So I talked at the beginning about all the different challenges that we face. When you look at the career hacking village site on DEF CON site, they mention, DT mentions that over half of you said, I don't even know how to look for a job. Wow, it's pretty significant. And I know that people of color and women and other underrepresented groups are statistically less likely to apply for a position that on paper they don't look like a match for. So I will do a share survey later where, again, half of you said when asked, if you see a job ad that doesn't look like a match, doesn't look apples for apples, you skip it. Half of you will not apply to that job. So I hope you watch this and you listen to all the other talks here at the Village today, and you change your mind. So the agenda is I am going to talk to you about how you can look at all the job ads as an opportunity, build a target list for yourself, like a requirements list, if I talk about it like an engineer, figure out what the blockers are, what the avenues are for you to connect, and why that is a big part of the solution, and effective interviewing as well. So again, if you think of every job ad that you see, regardless of the quality of it, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it makes sense, well, one thing that it is indicative of course, is they're probably hiring, right? So now you know. What am I going to do now with this information? I'm going to figure out, okay, well, is this the right company for me? So this might sound surprising to anybody who's struggling to find a job, but on our side of the table, the people that are doing the hiring, when we're struggling to find you, if you're struggling to find us and we're struggling to find you, you know what we say? You know what we tell our hiring managers when we can't find you? We say, well, it's a candidate's market. That's what we say. That's what we believe. We believe that you guys are in the power seat, that the people looking for jobs are telling us what to do. So think about yourself in that way. You're the one in the position of power here. You the candidate. It's your market. Okay. Discover what the culture looks like at this company. How can I do that? You can look at the social footprint. You can look at who works there, figure out who works there. LinkedIn is at your disposal, right? Go through LinkedIn, see what they're saying in their social footprint, see what they're saying when you look at their profile. Have they moved around much? What have they done? Did they grow within the same company? That's telling you these are things that you're finding out about the company just by looking at who works there. What are they saying to each other? What are they saying about their job? What are they saying about each other? About their teams, about their bosses? Have they changed and progressed throughout their career path within one place, or do they have to move to a new company in order to get the next title? That's also going to be indicative of what can happen for you potentially in those same places. And these things that you're discovering when you do this little research project after you saw the job ad, do they match up against what you're doing at this point in your career journey? So I just took a little sample here, and I did kind of redact anybody who I didn't get permission from. And of course, I got permission from Alyssa because I just wanted a chance to show her beautiful face on my slide. But this is cool. This is, the difference between, Kathleen asked me at the beginning, what kind of bad job ads? What do you mean? Well, there's the completely nonsensical ones. There's the completely unreasonable ones. And then every once in a while, you get a rare gem where the company did a really good job. So there's also, I see you all discussing when it seems like aspects of the job description or the job ad are hidden messages. So what do you mean fast-paced environment? Oh, I get it. You're going to make me do 20 different things. And I know that employers use these types of terms, and that's not always what they're trying to say. Fast-paced could mean different things. So what are you going to do? Now you're the candidate. You saw that, you assumed that, you thought it, write it down. And we'll talk later about what you're going to do with the questions that the job ad bring to mind for you. Looking for a self-starter. Does that mean we don't have organizational good leadership? What does it mean? Are these hidden messages or not? You know what you're going to do? You're going to ask. So when I asked you what you do, as I mentioned before, half of you will not even apply to these poor job descriptions. So that's unfortunate. Let's talk about why you probably should. So you saw the job posting, you had questions right away, notate those questions. If it's a company or a position that you're interested in, go ahead and apply, and we'll talk about how to get through. Now, I do have 2 little tiny disclaimers. I can hear you. I've heard it before. You're thinking, wait a second. I'm reading this job description, and I think it was written for one specific person. You wrote it for one person or one tiny group of people. Does that ever happen? Yep, it does. I've seen it. I've done it. Not at my current employer. It's been a while, but I've seen it. I've seen situations where the customer or the hiring managers are thinking, I know exactly who I want. That doesn't mean it can't be you. It doesn't mean it can't be you. Now, here's what I mean. In one of the examples that I'm thinking of this was a while ago, there was actually a small group of people, I can count them on one hand, who wrote a specific tool. And unfortunately, when the job posting went through, they said X many years of experience with said tool. Now, if I said the tool, you'd know who the people are. One of them, we did hire her, the one who led the program. But the tool hadn't even existed for the number of years in the job requirement. You hear what I'm saying? So they screwed up, but they did write it for that specific person. Why do I think that doesn't mean it can't be you? Well, if I know that Kathleen is who I want, I'm looking for a chief marketing officer for my company. I know her, I know her skills. I'm aware of what she can do and what she can't do. I'm going to write this job. Heck, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to her LinkedIn profile and I'm going to pull down exactly her experience, and that's going to be the job description. Well, as much as she is special, there are other people that either have done some of the things that she has done or have the capability of growing into or learning or doing the things that she has done with comparable experience and comparable taskings that they have done. So it is incumbent upon you to be a good advocate for yourself and be able to speak to those things. You know what? I haven't launched or designed or been the patriot of hiring villages. Kathleen has. I haven't. Can I do Kathleen's job? So you do your homework and you look at the job description. Sorry for calling you out, Kathleen. You just perfect example here if you think about it. So what have I done that I can speak to that is similar, either in my personal life or in my volunteer work or in my professional life, so forth. Good example. So there are going to be, however, certain things that you will see, and I've seen so many of these things lately, it's disturbing, things that I don't know if, okay, somebody completely the opposite of Kathleen in the marketing department thought they were clever and they said some really, really awful, offensive things. It's been happening a lot lately. These are the things you're going to run away from. I'm not going to give these examples a ton of attention, but here's a couple. I tried to redact anything identifying from them. I'm not, again, going to give them a lot of attention, but if they're talking about your ability to chug beer or whether or not you want hot chicks around, they're gross. Just run away and move on to the next job description. Did I say that every single poor job description is one you should apply to? Depends on what you're looking for. So if you see something like this, don't bother with it. It's all the attention those gross people are going to get from me. So when you're looking at your target list that we talked about, when you're building your requirements for your next opportunity, I want you to think about what matters to you, whether it's flexibility in your schedule, room and opportunities to grow. Remember, you're going to discover these things when you're researching the company. You're going to be looking at the questions that you should be asking when you get the opportunity to ask those questions, first at the recruiter level, second at the hiring manager level. And then you're going to look at what is evidenced and what is proven in looking at all the footprints of the other individuals working at that company. So think about those things, what matters to you the most, and we'll talk about how to ask for those things. Figure out the difference in the same way that all of your job descriptions are written required versus preferred. Same goes for you. You need to figure out the difference between what you require and what you prefer as a candidate, and what is a deal breaker for you. So there's a decision to be made on both sides. And then you will rank those things that you have discovered and proceed accordingly. So I know who wrote this job description. I know what they were trying to say. I know why it probably got written the way that it did. It's actually quite typical. My first impression when I see this is that I think they might have mixed up what is a requirement and what is a preferred skill. There's a lot going on under the basic quals here. That's quite a bit. So let's walk through this one. So the very first bullet says polygraph. What do you mean? I lost my mouse. Do you mean a CI poly? Do you mean a full scope poly? Do you mean I need to be eligible for a polygraph? Do you mean I should have passed one in a certain number of years? By the way, all these questions I just asked are all reasonable questions. Make note of those questions. I mentioned earlier that I don't have a degree. Does comparable experience account? Well, it must. I mean, in my case, for pretty much every job I've ever had. So down here, a few bullets down, when you're mentioning all of the demonstrated experience that you need in these commercial tools, when you say open source like OllyDebug, do you also mean Wireshark? You get the point. This one really irritated me. When you list all of the different languages, you say C, and you say C++, C++ and Java, I put them in the same bucket. Python and Perl, I put them in the same bucket. You say assembly, but you don't say Objective-C. What if I have scripted, but I've never created executable code from scratch? You get my point. They should have separated this out. And so the question that you would then have first at the recruiting level and then at the hiring manager level is you would say, do I have to have all of these things? Do I have to have some of these things? Is one equivalent to the other? Because I think most software engineers would say that they're not. So those are reasonable questions. Now down at the bottom where it says things like strong and good, that's not compliant things to ask for. Those are subjective terms. When you see subjective terms, you would then wonder, and you would ask, or make note of this to ask, how are you measuring these things? How do you quantify them? How do you determine what is strong and what is good? So there's a lot to unpack here. We don't need to talk about every single thing on this job description, however. Make note of these questions. They're all worth asking, and then make sure that you're able to address them. What I would do if I'm interested in this position, and this position looks to me like it's an RE, it's a malware dev. I'm going to take a look at this and I'm going to say to myself, all right, first at the recruiting level and then at the hiring manager level, be ready to address these things. Be ready proactively to say in advance of being asked about it, all the different questions that we came up with or that you came up with when you go through the job description. So again, I'm the perfect example of someone who isn't qualified for their current or last position because I don't have a degree. So be ready to ask, are you going to provide me the opportunity to get a degree? Are you going to pay for me to go to school? Or do you have that as a benefit? And do you accept experience that is equivalent? Do you have that available? When it says certifications, here's another place for you to ask, and you can ask the recruiter up front, and then you can ask the hiring manager, well, what training do you provide? And certs can be pretty expensive. Heck, SANs are very expensive. Are you going to be paying for these? Are you going to be providing assistance? Recruiters, remember, I keep saying to get to the interview table, you have to get through the recruiter, right? So the best companies will have the best recruiters, and those recruiters will make time for you. They will not drop the ball on you. They will listen to your questions. When they don't know the answer, the best thing they can tell you, and keep track of this, the people who just make stuff up, that's not what you want to hear. You don't want to hear all the golden answers that just sound right. The best recruiters are going to be honest with you, and they're going to get back to you. They're going to say, you know what, I'm not sure. Let me go figure that out for you. They are going to assist you. You are your best representative, but they become your agent. They work for you. So then when you get to the interviewer, remember that your good recruiter got you there, right? And now you need to be your own best advocate by addressing any and all of the things that you may have identified when you were looking through the job ad, or questions that you came up with when you were speaking to the recruiter. And the interview is going to be time for you to be addressing, as we said before, any of the questions that you came up with in advance of them even being asked of you. You know, I don't have this particular thing or that particular thing. I noticed in the description you were looking for this and this. I, however, have this and this. Is that going to suit me? Is that going to be good? So get those questions asked at that point. So the avenues that we have, again, are online. We have our events. You all took the step today. You're here. Either you'll be at DEF CON and B-Sides this year in person, or you have now the hybrid option, which I'm hoping will always be an option. I think it's great. It's not easy for everybody to jump on a plane and balance the things that they have to balance and get physically to all the places that the conferences are happening. So if there's anything good that came out of COVID, it was that we proved that we could make these things happen this way. And I definitely, I hope that this will continue so that it opens more opportunities for more people to participate in the things they couldn't physically go to. So when we're talking about all of these events, I can't say enough about, remember, we keep talking about mock interviews, which are happening here. They're happening in the Career Hacking Village. There's resume workshops and mock interviews happening. This is going to be your chance to practice one of the things that I've been talking to you about, where you are going to address during the interview all the different questions that you came up with when you looked at the job description. This is your chance. Do it in the mock interview. You can do it over and over and over again. You can even trade places. This is a really cool idea. So you're sitting at the table with the engineers and the recruiters that are volunteering their time, and you're pretending to be a candidate and they're pretend interviewing you. Then you can switch it up. This is a really good learning experience. See if they want to switch places with you. You interview them. This is going to be a great learning experience for both of you. So if you have the opportunity to take advantage, no matter what place you're in your particular journey at this time in your career path, it's always a good idea to do these practice interviews. Super duper quick story, because I think I have a little bit of time. I'll tell you, my son, he's a private in the Army, and he recently got nominated for Trooper of the Month or something like that. And he had to put his little dress blues on for the first time and go in front of a panel and an interview for Trooper of the Month. He did not get Trooper of the Month. However, he walked away from it saying, well, now I know how to do it. And I was the only private there. And a lot of people don't get a chance to go before a panel until they get in higher up in their ranks. So think about it like that. Remember little tiny Private Renner, and think to yourself, it really is a good experience every single one of the interviews that you do. And again, networking is very critical in your journey when you are working on figuring out the next path and networking with your peers to figure out where you should go next. Talking to your peers and other individuals at these conferences is going to help you figure out where you belong or where your next move should be. This would be the place where normally I would take questions. I'm going to be available. My DMs are open on Twitter, and Kathleen will follow up with letting us know how we do questions. I think she's going to schedule those later.
Yes, we're going to have questions available via Discord following your presentation, so people can interact with you in the Career Hacking Village Discord channel. And also, I believe sometime we might get you available for resume review and such, but for right now, we're just going to make sure that people know to connect with you on Twitter and to connect with you on LinkedIn. So thank you so much, Kirsten. I always love seeing your happy face, and I look forward to one of these days seeing you in person at DEF CON and besides Las Vegas.
For those of you that are on site in Vegas, just a couple weeks from now, I'm physically there. I'm physically in the Car Hacking Village. You can come say hello to me. I'd love to see you.
Sounds great. Thanks so much. Take care.
Yeah.